Welcome to qnawire.
The next question here says, the samples of nitric and acetic acid shown here are both titrated with, we have 0.100 molar sodium hydroxide. Okay, so what does the picture looks like? So the first one looks like this. You have well, they're not really distinguishable. What we just have is we have 25.0 milliliters flask of 1.0 molar nitric acid. And the second flask is 25.0 milliliters of 1.0 molar acetic acid. So we are to determine whether each of the following statements is concerning this titration is true or false. Okay. So the first statement is, a larger volume of sodium hydroxide aqueous is needed to reach the equivalence point in the titration of nitric acid. Okay, so do we need a larger volume of sodium hydroxide to reach the equivalence point in the titration of nitric acid? So this is kind of relative. Well, nitric acid here is a strong acid, and acetic acid here is a weak acid. So if we are talking in terms of relative amounts of sodium hydroxide, yes, A will be true. We need more sodium hydroxide to neutralize this compared to this. Okay. B says the pH has the equivalence point in nitric acid will be lower than the pH at equivalence point in acetic acid titration. Well, that is also true because acetic acid is a weak acid, so the CH3COO minus ion, or the sodium acetate that we produce in essence, will be a strong conjugate base. So that will make the pH to be higher than 7.0 at equivalence point, whereas the pH at equivalence point for the HNO3 would be at 7.0. Then it says phenolphthalein will be a suitable indicator. C says phenolphthalein will be a suitable indicator for both titration. Well, to determine if this is true, we need to know the range, the working range of phenolphthalein. So phenolphthalein changes from colorless for pH value less than 8 and to pink for pH greater than 10. So a pink color will indicate a pH that is greater than 10. Okay, so at equivalence point, phenolphthalein, the equivalence point for phenolphthalein will be pink. So we cannot use phenolphthalein for the titration of sodium hydroxide with nitric acid because the equivalence point is at 7. So that is false because it will not see any color at equivalence point. We'll only see color above equivalence point. So to use phenolphthalein, we need to have a pH. So phenolphthalein work at a pH of 8.3 less than 10.0. So your pH has to be in between this. So anything lower than this, it will not work. So that's why it doesn't work for this combination because the equivalence point is 7.0, which is outside of this range.